Aloha, mamas, and welcome to episode number 11 of the Mama Mindset podcast. And today, as for always, we're here for the spiritual gem. And really kudos to us for continuing to show up and make yourselves a priority. There are so many distractions, so many reasons, so many excuses, so many ways that we can choose not to show up. But every time that you do this, every time that you prioritize your mindset, every time that you commit to yourself and make yourself a priority, you're building those mental muscles, those spiritual muscles, and you are becoming a stronger, more capable version of yourself. I'm literally being requested here. And I think that this is our life as mamas, is just learning to embrace the distractions as they come and I'm being asked to breastfeed at this very moment. And I think that we are so powerful in not pushing through the distractions and all of the things that come our way, but in acknowledging them and in embracing our power of understanding how we can harness all of our mama tuition and all of our mama momentum in those moments and still return to these nourishing times where we are building up ourselves. And something that was on my mind today to share with you all is I've taken some really good, tonight I took a Women's History Month reflection ride on Peloton with a really cool instructor named Christine D'Arcole. And we were talking because for me, it was a spiritual ride. And I think it kind of echoed something I was talking about on the podcast recently about us being too much. You know, we've many times in our lives been called too much. Too emotional, too quiet, too shy, too loud, too bold, too ambitious, too lazy, too proud, too modest, too prideful, too selfish, too judgmental, too kind, too much of anything. Just we've been called too much many times. And how much has this fed into our definition, or how much have we allowed this to feed into the definition of what others make it mean about us? You know, like how much have we allowed others to define us, our bodies, what that means, our personalities and what that means. And I think in the too much is your and our secret sauce. I think your power is in the too much and in the ways that you've been labeled throughout life. Do we see this hand right here? This hand is, I am multitasking right now. I'm breastfeeding and talking in the spiritual gem. And this is so great. I think in the too much is the fertile soil from where you can sow those seeds of your own power and your own solace and your own sacred spirit. And so revisiting those times when you were told you were too much, too studious, too ambitious, too pushy, too bold, because you may not have fit into the box or whatever someone was comfortable with as a definition of a woman or a mama or a person, a human in general. And because we are sensitive, empathic beings, likely that language, too much of fill in the blank, landed upon you in a way that might have made you take a step back. It was probably deflating, confusing. It might have caused you shame and embarrassment. And it might have caused you to take a micro pivot away from you, your true self, your vertical alignment, and to start to believe that that part of you was something not to be shown and not to lean into, and that wasn't your strength. What if it was? What if that encounter, it didn't need to have malicious intentions by the person who uttered those words, but what if that encounter was just you trying on, your strengths in different parts of your life, different role rehearsals and dress calls that you had. What if at that moment that person, was just not able to tolerate that version of you? It doesn't have any reflection on you. It doesn't have to. It doesn't need to mean anything unless you make it mean that. And that's one huge important concept component of you being in vertical alignment with yourself and you being in your own mama mindset, is that whatever someone says to you, writes to you, you make it mean what it will mean in your life. It could be looking back at the numbers on the scale. What do you make that mean about you? And we always have that opportunity with every word that we receive. What am I going to make this mean? We always have a chance to understand that this is what is meant by other people can't hurt your feelings. Like truly you get to, I mean, the words may sting and hurt, but we always have the opportunity to nourish ourselves and understand, like, why is this landing upon me in this way? Why is this triggering me in a certain way? Why do I feel like this is dangerous? And my fight or flight sense is saying, okay, if somebody tells me I'm too aggressive, then maybe I just need to back down. Maybe I'm just meant to be a more muted version of myself. Like, no, what if your too much is your gift? It is your superpower. It is your genius zone. What if you are too quiet is you dropping into your artistic genius zone and your writing and whatever creative gifts you have? What if you're too selfish? I think selfish is a big trigger word. I know one for me in my life, because that was just the antithesis of what I ever wanted to be as an empath, growing up, like a sister, a friend, and even to this day, a wife, a mom, a physician. Selfish is still a trigger word for me, but it's one that I'm unpeeling and that I'm unpacking. And then I'm realizing for many years, I negated so many portions of myself for fear of being perceived as too selfish. And I know, and I believe that self-care is healthcare, and it is never selfish. And that was a limiting belief that was planted into the soil of my vulnerable, people-pleasing garden many years ago. And when I started to blossom again, I thought they were weeds when people would say something again about selfishness. And so I would just prune it back again and be like, okay, that version of myself cannot grow here. And I recognize that now, and I nourish that part of me. And I know that my self-care is not selfish. I know that. And I claim that. And I will put protective boundaries around myself and any person who may say that to me in the future, because I know that I'm not selfish. And if I'm choosing to take care of myself, it's honoring of me, and it's helping my genius zone come forth, and it's helping me show up in what I feel is a valuable way for other human beings. And I know that that's the same for you too. So whether it's too loud, too quiet, too muscular, too big, too small. I mean, we've been told a lot of things about our body. You're too big in this pregnancy. Are you having twins? Like, no, I'm having one baby. Thank you. It's just, we go through, I think pregnancy is such a humorous time, and maybe you can land upon this so that different comments that are not elicited by the society that you'll endure and that will come your way, you can kind of weather those comments with grace. Because I think that during pregnancy, people are invited to say things that they might not otherwise venture to say, about asking you like how far along you are, if you have twins. And it's honestly coming, I feel, from a place of trying to connect, because I do think that there are two basic human needs, that is to be loved and to be understood. And so I think that it is an attempt to establish conversation. I don't think it comes from any type of malice. I think it's a curiosity thing. And so instead of letting those be a trigger for us, because we are so, this is going to be another episode of its own, but we are so conscious about our bodies as little girls, and then as adolescents, and then as young women and mamas, that we have a fear around getting our bodies back. And we subscribe to that magazine of life and of society that says like, okay, you're going to subscribe to this bounce back, and don't worry, you're going to get your body back after 9 months. Like, I really want to offer that you are not here to get your body back. You are not here to bounce back. Your body is changed forever. And what if you wanted it to be? What if you claimed that? What if you owned that and nurtured that your body, this temple, this sacred space, remember we talked about our body is an instrument, never an ornament. It is, maybe it's not meant to wear those pre-pregnancy jeans anymore. You don't have to be like into the mom jeans and like sort of forgoing your fitness, but I'm saying that your body is changed forever. And that is a beautiful thing, what your body has done. And loving your body, speaking positive life and love over your body, practicing saying affirmations to your body and looking at yourself in the mirror and loving and accepting all of the newness of your body post-baby is one of the most radical acts of self-love and compassion that you can do. And starting on the outside and then working into your inner spiritual gym, it's all connected. You can't come here and work on mama mindset, but then like keep negating your body. And I did that. I have done that. I remember with my daughter, so, becoming a mom, I had significant polyhydramnios in that at the end of that pregnancy. I was post-dates. And so I had extra fluid, and the extra fluid possibly maybe contributed to my diastasis recti. That's where you have the separation of your abdominal muscles, your linea alba, and you can have like a protrusion post-pregnancy where you continue to look pregnant. And so I remember going back to the hospital to work in my scrubs, and like the first patient's parent that commented like, when are you due? And, I laughed it off, and I got used to those comments and my comebacks, my little quips, which was usually around like, oh no, baby's already here. Like still working on losing the baby weight. And just kind of, I guess my goal in those moments was to honestly, like my goal was to make the person comfortable who uttered that comment, because I didn't want them to feel ashamed of it. And when I admit that right there and like unpack that, it's kind of sad that my main focus in that moment was, the people pleaser in me and the connector in me, and that's not wrong or bad, but my main goal in those moments was to disarm that person of any shame or guilt that they might be feeling. And I wanted to make it okay for them. And in doing that, again, that's not wrong. I think it's a beautiful part of me and like the healer in me coming out, but it was hiding me. It was minimizing me. It was shaming. It was me shaming myself. It was me not accepting me and me perpetuating that like a toxic kind of thought process around, okay, I'm not bouncing back the way that I should. Like, here I am, this ex Division I athlete, and like, oh, I got to play some semi-pro soccer, and I know how to do this. I know how to grind through everything. Look at me, I'm working 90-hour work shifts. I'll get my body back if I run enough, if I eat healthy enough. The breastfeeding thing's supposed to be like hopping on the elliptical for, 70 minutes, it's like a crazy great workout, right? Breastfeeding and all the calories you burn. So I can't wait for those to kick in, and all these myths that I allowed to dominate my mental landscape. And it took me several years, I would say, to become comfortable in my postpartum baby body and to land in a place of peace, like instead of the overwhelm around it, and to really embrace that I don't want to bounce back. I think that's a toxic narrative and I reject it. I want to move forward in a more powerful way. I want to honor my body, and I want to use movement as medicine. I've talked about that a lot on here, that I love working out, and now I do it with reverence. I get to work out. And I was saying those words to myself just to change my just to have a mental pivot instead of like, oh, I have to work out today, or like, I should work out. I need to work out. I haven't worked out yet. Instead of that deflating language, which I'm even just demonstrating my body right now, and probably you hear in my like weird tones that I'm using. Instead, I pivoted. At first, it was like a little bit of a force saying, okay, I get to work out. This is what I'm going to say instead. And soon it was something I believed and I indoctrinated. And now I choose to work out because it truly, like the endorphins, and it's always been something that has been a feed forward cycle for me. And then I notice that when I move my body, I don't even want to say workout, when I move my body in an intentional way, it helps me to make better decisions around nutrition and sleep and just in general, nurturing and caring for myself. And so landing in this new space where I accept myself, and not only accept myself, but I radically like practice compassion for myself and my body and what it has accomplished for me, how it shows up for me every day, how it has allowed me this divine privilege of becoming a mother to two humans that I get to nurture, and I get to be their mom every single day, is incredible. And my body shows that, it demonstrates that, it bears that. And so I don't want to bounce back. I want to move forward in mama momentum, in love, in harmony, and in humor with you all forward. So I hope you want to join me on that spiritual gym, treadmill, elliptical, light weightlifting, or maybe even just meditation session. And all of these ways we don't have to, I mean, sometimes it is the workout about the grind and about just crushing it. And you just need to feel so, challenged that day physically. Sometimes it's not about that. It's about putting on the sports bra and the yoga pants and going for a walk and being in nature and connecting, or meditating, doing yoga, and anything that feels relevant. And that's another pivot that I've made, is instead of, for me, in my younger 20s and college years, a workout was crushing it. It was like chasing a new personal record or some type of goal and pushing the limits of my body every single time. There was like rarely any warm up or cool down involved. It was just like all or nothing. There was no walking. There was no, it was just like, let's do this. And I honor and I see her, and she did a lot of great things. And she passed all those fitness tests, and she pushed her body, and that helped her learn a lot about herself. But today I do walk. I have so much fun. I go on little flower safaris with my children, and we pick flowers in the garden in around the neighborhoods and in our little walks here on Maui. And I walk, run, like gasp. I do, like, sometimes I walk, sometimes I run. And there's all these ways of movement that I have allowed to be medicine for me. And it's been a whole new thing. Walking is truly opened up my eyes to all, and just like my posture when I walk and engaging my pelvic floor. And I'm excited to talk in further episodes about pelvic floor therapy and all of the ways that our anatomy is so complex and majestic in that queen region of ourselves, and how I think it's pretty neglected in the postpartum period. Not by any, I think pediatricians and OBGYNs want to acknowledge that part of our care. It's just not really, it doesn't blend really well with the current medical model in terms of time and the ability to dedicate portions of office and clinic visits to that. So I think there's some real ways we can empower ourselves around that. And I'm excited to share with you what I've learned, through medicine, and also in my own personal journey in that way. But kind of circling back to too much, like, can you think back to some scenarios in your life? Could have been you as a little girl. It could have been you as a school age girl. It could have been you in high school, in your post-high school years, whether that was college, or you jumped right into the job scene, or you were traveling, you as a young woman, you in different relationships in your life, romantic relationships, but also those with, friends. We have all endured some form of female microaggression. And I think that that's just female energy gone wrong. It's just us getting our wires crossed, and in our own insecurities, putting those out on others. And sometimes we can have compassion then when people say something like, you're too skinny, you're too big, you're too, you're too assertive, you're too quiet. Those could be projections from other people who are still landing on their own sense of emotional neutrality. And so the next level of your mama mindset is when you are the recipient of it, you are too fill in the blank. I'm going to ask you to have a 2-part response to that, and none of it's verbal. The first part of it. So you've just heard like you're too assertive. How about the first part is letting that land on you, like play it in your mind, let it be like the airplane banner across the sky, like, because you're going to play it back several times. You can see it. Sorry, bless me. You can see it in the clouds in your mental space. You are too assertive. Let it land, validate it, say it out loud in your mind. You don't have to say it out loud. You can say it aloud in your mind space, and nurture it. Nurture yourself. Okay. Like, how does that make you feel? What emotions are coming up? How can you love yourself through that comment? And the second part is, can you cultivate compassion for the person who uttered that phrase? So instead of jumping into a defensive posture or some type of low vibe energy, which, may be warranted, but this is next level you, and you're ready for that, is, can you cultivate some compassion that whatever they may be going through in their own emotional and spiritual gyms that day, they're just not in a space to be compassionate. And maybe they didn't even mean much by that comment. Maybe they're projecting. Who knows? You don't have to dramatize what they said or didn't say, but it's mostly just cultivating a curiosity and a fascination around that, and deciding to not let it mean anything innately about you. And that's your pivot away. That is your moment of freedom, when you freed yourself from that comment, and you're going to be able to live into the future and not be chained in the past with this comment. Because many of us have subscribed for too long to repressing, muting, minimizing versions of ourselves that we deemed were dangerous because we were told we were too fill in the blank. And I think that played into our who we became as we evolved as people, because we play the future. We play all the time, like the future roles, right? Like we'll dress rehearse for roles that we'll have in the future. And we'll like, well, I don't want to appear too assertive to this group project, because then like everybody's not going to like me. And we go way down the line in the future, because if I do that, then I'm not going to do well on this project. And then we're not going to get a good grade, and I'm not going to pass the class. And we catastrophize, I think. And we build upon, and we do this like drama role play. We're all really good actresses. Like, let's know that we are all great actresses in this life. And we all have the ability to, you're too dramatic. That's a good one. You're too dramatic, right? Probably at one point in every woman's life, you've been told you're too dramatic, you're too sensitive, or too sensitive. I've been told I was too sensitive many times in my life. And I thought that was wrong and bad. I truly did. And my sensitivity, my empathy is I think the best part about me, and something I'm the most proud of. And I know is one of the most healing qualities that allows me to connect with other human beings and with myself. And it's something that I nurture every single day now. And when I was told I was too sensitive growing up, it wasn't done in a malicious manner. Whoever said it to me at different points along my path may have just been conflicted in their own way. And maybe it was just something said in the heat of the moment, because they just wanted to get out of that particular dynamic. But too sensitive is a gateway. And so I really want you to tune in to whatever you've been told that you were too much of. For me, too sensitive was a huge one, maybe the number one that I tried to repress, minimize, even eradicate at times. Like, okay, I'm too sensitive. So like even as I went into medicine, which I could never eradicate that, because I always care about my patients and bring their stories home. Like, I never could subscribe to that And I'm proud of that because it made me a better physician, a better healer, a better empath, and much more interactive with my patients and families, and those times that I showed emotion in the gravity of deep situations, I believe they were true reflections of my own soul. And so too dramatic, I think, is most likely one that a lot of women have maybe been told at some point in their lives. And that, I think, is an illustration of your capacity to own and claim and process and live into so many emotions. And how beautiful is that you are able to be so many things at once and feel so much at once and play into so many things at once. And that is a beautiful part of you, the actress within you that lives into the role of your everyday life. We're not acting, we're living, we're learning, we're vibrant, we're funny, we're serious. We star in all of these dramas, comedies, rom-coms, sci-fis, mysteries, action, like done. All of those roles, we can play them all. And so, Mama, you play into that. You be dramatic. I think that's a huge, huge strength. And so I wonder how you could get curious about when you're told, going back and replaying those times that you were told you were too dramatic, too whatever, and you decided to look at it from the lens of like, that's my strength. I'm tuning into that because that is a part of me that I will no longer minimize. I will no longer negate. I will no longer neglect. I will no longer try to force out of my life because that is me. And I will no longer let comments that other people tell me define me. And I will no longer let that affect me in a way that doesn't honor me and who I am in my vertical alignment with myself and my intuition. I will go inward into that space. And that's what I'm inviting us to do when you receive your next too much statement. That's step number one, is going inward, nurturing. Because when you are in neutrality in your own soul with your own tree, like we did that analogy the other day, you're in the solace of your own space, your own sacred queendom. Then those comments, they don't affect you. They don't allow you to take that dangerous pivot away from and tuning into what really is magnificent about you, what really is magnetic about you, what really is sewn into your DNA of who you are as a person and how you're meant to show up in the world and what makes you happy and how you naturally live out into your genius zone. So I'm excited to hear a little bit more about what you're too much of and how you're going to nourish that. How you're going to flip the script on that, how you're going to turn up the volume on that, and how you're going to choose to let that be your medicine, to let those be little seeds next time someone says that, instead of letting it be someone who you feel like is dismissing you or, I guess, in better, not dismissing you, but someone who's giving you, who's rejecting that portion of you. Maybe it's an invitation, a portal into you nurturing that side of you. And you're going to tune into it. You're going to let that be an invitation. Very interesting. And next time we get on the future train, which we can get on where we catastrophize a little bit, like I was saying before, about 5 steps down the road about what could happen, we're going to come back to the present moment, celebrate the wins that are happening right now in the present. Because right now, this is a win. You here, nurturing your mindset, listening, taking the plunge into the self-reflection pond that you do every time you're here. You're at the spiritual gym, lifting those weights. We're getting some really strong, beautiful spiritual muscles. We're not here for a long time. We're here for a strong time. That's another one of my favorite quotes when I do boot camp with Jess Sims on Peloton. Not here for a long time. We're here for a strong time. And that's truly how I envision Mama Mindset as well. You're here for a strong time. You're here to strengthen your spiritual muscles, who you are as a mama, but also as a woman, a visionary, an artist, a creative, an empath, a healer, and too much of whatever it is that you've been told you're too much of. You are going to tune into that and you're going to turn up that music and you're going to make some noise in a beautiful way. And I'm excited to see you live into that, to empower yourself. Remember, empowered women empower women. And I'm so thankful for Women's History Month in March that reminds us of that. We're marching forward together. We're marching away from the toxic narratives of getting our body back and bouncing back. We're going into new territory, and it gets to be fun. We get to be in flow. We get to be fascinated, and it gets to be freeing. And you get to ask yourself every single day, how good are you willing to let your life get? And the answer is, there is no end to the amount of abundance and prosperity that's waiting to flow into your life when you choose to prioritize yourself and when you choose to show up for yourself. And that's what you're doing right here, right now. I see you. I have massive love for you and so much aloha, mama. I'm excited for our next life chat. And thank you for living into real, raw life with me as I handled breastfeeding 2 different times during this session of my little guy. And I think that that's real and raw and fun. And that's what I came to do here, is have this be authentic and unedited and unscripted and raw and real. And it feels right. I know that I'm coming in here in a way that honors me. And I hope it adds value to your life too. Thank you for being here. As always, you can email me at aloha@mamamindset.com, and I will see you soon.